they were 10 points off a Champions League spot. That quote from Marcelino, who said it was dificilísimo. On the radio at the weekend, there was one of the Valencia reporters saying that he'd actually spoken to Marcelino recently, and he felt that there was a game before, there was a game against Valladolid, I think it was back in January, and Marcelino himself felt, if I don't win this game, I'm not going to continue. And actually they didn't win. They ended up drawing despite absolutely battering Valladolid, and yet they stuck with him. And the person who really believed in him was Mateu Alemany, the Director General of Valencia. So you have to say, obviously, credit to Marcelino for what he's done at Valencia, but also credit to Mateu Alemany for sticking by him.
There's a lesson in there, isn't there? I mean, to try and unpack this and try very hard not to go off on various tangents, let's kind of put the season into context in terms of where they've come from to win this Champions League place. As you said, at the halfway stage of the season, they were 10 points off the Champions League place. No one has ever been that far off and taken that final position, or even a position higher. There's a couple of lovely quotes that I really like that kind of define the season. I remember sitting at Leganés and listening to Marcelino say, I have never seen a season like this. I have never ever experienced a season like this where I cannot explain why it's going wrong. We're not doing that much wrong. We're not scoring goals, it's not going in, but we're not doing all that much wrong. And genuinely, I've never seen anything like this.
I think they'd only scored 17 goals after the first 18 games, something like that.
I think that's right. Maybe it's 15. I was looking at this earlier, so 15 rings a bell, but it could be 17. And that day, him saying, look, I just can't explain. But there's some other quotes that I really like, which is the day that they beat Huesca, which is the last game before the Christmas break, and the Valladolid game is the first one after. Sorry, the second one after, which we'll come on to in a minute, because you're right, the Valladolid game is a turning point. They beat Huesca, and it was a late goal from Rodrigo, 84th minute, 85th minute, something like that. And there was this huge kind of sense of release after the game. And yet, within the release, around the stadium, there was some white hankies and some whistling. And that was the day that from the pitch, you get Ezequiel Garay sort of muttering under his breath, go and take it up with bum, which is a classic Spanish phrase, and Gaia shouting at the fans, we're down here suffering like dogs. Now, apart from the fact that the dog doesn't suffer, it just sits on the sofa licking its paws, there was this real sense
I'm glad he said paws.
Yes. Oh, well, there was a potentially more rude version of that, yes. There was a real sense that the tension was really, really something else. And I remember a lovely quote as well from Marcelino where he said, basically, the phrase was, we get punched in the face daily. Es una bofetada todos los días.
Yeah.
Eso. Un azote y bofetada todos los días. So every day we get punched in the face. And he said, going into the Valladolid, after the Valladolid game, he said, look, we played Sporting the Cup that they lost to. And he said, they have one shot and they score one goal. We play Alaves, who was the first game after the Christmas break. 2 shots, 2 goals. Valladolid, 1 shot, 1 goal. Meanwhile, we have 267 shots and we don't score. The Valladolid game is really significant for a couple of reasons. As you say, that was a day where it looked like he was done. And 2 things happened. One is, as you've already mentioned, Mateu Alemany backs him, but so do the players. So Parejo scores a great goal in that game, runs to the bench and embraces Marcelino, and very, very publicly, we're with this guy. We're on this guy's side. Then Ruben Alcaraz scores this outrageous free kick. 1-1 draw. Valladolid had literally had one shot. That was it. Yeah. One shot in the whole game, and it was the portrait of their entire season. You've had this chance that Santi Mina misses at about a yard out, and you get a penalty, which Parejo gives to Rodrigo and says, "You take it, mate. You haven't been scoring. Let's break your bad run." And Rodrigo has it saved by Masip, and then they concede this late goal. So you have this thing where the players have that great Spanish word. How do you translate this in English? Scenificado. They've made a scene of their support for the manager. After the game, Rodrigo says, look, it would be very unfair to sack the manager. He can't do miracles. He can't come on the pitch and finish the chances for us. And Rodrigo, in that sense, took a lot of this to heart. A lot of this was, this is my fault. And so the players make a big thing of, we are publicly supporting this manager. The next day is when Danny Parejo does that tweet where he says, we will not give up on a season in January. There are 5 months to go. I believe in this team. We are not giving up now. And I went to see Parejo about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said, look, you can't in January. And I could see that we were doing things well. You cannot give up then. And the very next day, is the day that Mateu Alemany, Anil Murthy, the president, and I think Pablo Longoria, who's the sporting director, are due in Singapore to see Peter Lim. The idea being he gets sacked. They say, don't sack him, stick with him. and then it begins. The next weekend is the weekend that they win against Celta Vigo, scoring late, and then it goes. And from then on, they go on a run of 17 games unbeaten, and here they are in the Champions League. And it is not chance that at the weekend, apart from his assistant and his fitness coach, the first two people over to Marcelino to embrace him are Rodrigo, who goes straight up to him. And you can see Marcelino looks like he's going to cry. And it's not just a give the manager a hug, nice one, boss. It's hold him. And, you know, we know what this was. We know how hard this was. And then Parejo comes over. And after the game, Marcelino makes that lovely quote where he says, I said to Danny, you hugged me then. Today was my turn to hug you back.